Hey, Toxic Suicide. Thank you so much for coming down to the station.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
You are a well-known performance artist in Portland.
That's what they say.
Okay. But you're a singer, you're a model, you're an award-winning entertainer. Can you tell me about some of your passions?
Well, you mentioned that I'm a singer. I love singing. I've been singing since I was a child. So, how I knew that singing was my destiny, per se, was when I was a kid. I used to sing on the tallest part of the playground. I'd pretend that everyone was my audience, and I would put on a whole routine for them. Usually the Lion King soundtracks or Pocahontas. A lot of Lion King and Pocahontas. A Little Mermaid sometimes. Mostly Disney oriented.
Okay, so you do that for all of your classmates. It's probably well received.
I do that at Stripparaoke too.
So you're an award-winning entertainer. So you're a dancer in Portland. Am I using the right term? Is that okay?
Yeah, dancer's fine. Entertainer, showgirl, superstar of the world. That's what I call myself.
They're all fitting. And you are at Lucky Devil Lounge in Devil's Point, PDX.
Yes, and I also work Friday nights at the Kit Kat Club.
Oh, I love Kit Kat.
Yeah, I've been doing a singing striptease act there, which is really exciting.
Oh, wow. That sounds really sexy. Oh, my God. I have to come and see you.
I would love that. Please do.
And then may I ask, how did you get into dancing? Was this, you're like, I'm an all-around entertainer. There's like nothing I won't touch.
I've been dancing in Portland for a long time now. Some say a decade. That's how it feels. I actually started dancing. I had just moved back from California. I had been working at a radio station prior to that.
Oh, I didn't know you had radio experience.
I do have radio experience.
What a treat.
Yeah, it's been a long time though. But when I moved back to Portland, I had a hard time getting hired at anything. So my friend who I'd gone to high school with had mentioned that she was stripping and kind of was like, you should try it. And I was not okay with it at first, to be honest with you. I didn't know how I felt about it. I was 19. The only experience I'd had, I did Suicide Girls. I started doing Suicide Girls when I was 18. I was like, I don't know about that. And she's like, how about you come audition. It'll be cool. So I ended up working my first shift. I didn't audition. I just walked in and worked. It was Friday night at Jody's.
Did you have any training prior?
Well, so I was a cheerleader most of my life, and I had dance experience, and I had musical theater experience. So I had performing experience, but not in that way. And at first, I was really on the fence about it, just because when you think about like entertaining in an adult establishment, you don't know what to expect. A lot of people don't know what to expect. It's nothing what you think. You have to actually go and experience it to figure it out for yourself, because you have all these pre-notions in your head, mostly because people, like movies, the media, what's portrayed to you, that happens in these establishments. But when you actually go, you'll find out that it's really fun. There's a lot of really talented dancers. They put on real incredible shows. Like, that's why I like working at like Lucky Devil, Devil's Point, and Kit Kat, because there we put on theme sets and we put a lot of thought into our costumes, into our performance, our music. It's like everything you thought of when you were a kid, when you would listen to music and you go to school dances and you did your dance moves. It's like that's what I do for people and get paid for it.
Yeah, well, because they say do something you're passionate and something you find fun. And I feel like you found that for you personally, especially when I saw you at Miss Exotic Oregon, but 2 years ago. So I saw you when you came in and you were all green.
Oh, that was the Britney Spears Alien act.
Yeah, it was.
That was the Toxic act.
Yes. Didn't you love that? Like, I seriously, my jaw dropped, and I must say that paint stayed on very well.
Matt Henley and Claire Brooksbank are two of the best body painters in Portland. They're amazing.
Okay.
For one. But it was so cool because part of the reason why I love entertaining and performing is because I like to transform myself, and I like to take myself and my audience to the space that I'm in. So doing that act, when I was planning it out, I did a lot of research. So I actually traveled when I was in Europe. I went abroad to Europe to travel, to study art, and just to like get a feel, because my piece was, I wanted to bring like, I did an alien, obviously, Britney Spears pop star, but I wanted to also like, with my, like, I studied different art and how art affected people. So I took a lot of inspiration from like Bocelli's the birth of Venus. That was like a lot of like how I like sculpted my hair and did everything for that. So I do a lot of research to do my performance pieces.
Clearly.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You had a lot of energy, and I really loved the green. I just gotta say.
I am glad that I went with the green because someone once told me that people identified green as like gross, but I thought that green was more of like, it was, when I think of an alien, I think of like green, toxic, like it's really interesting. Like you kind of want to touch it. It's weird goo.
Yeah, and it left a lasting impression on me. Also, you mentioned Stripparaoke. I don't really know what that is. I can imagine what that is, but can you kind of break it down for me?
So Stripparaoke is every Sunday night at Devil's Point from 9 p.m. to close. And what it is, you come, you sing a song, and the dancer comes up with a theme set to whatever you're singing.
So I pick a song.
Yes.
And I'm going to sing it.
Yes.
Okay, but you dance.
I dance.
Okay.
I perform to whatever you're singing, no matter how your singing style is. If it is you've been singing your whole life or this is your first time ever, I will do the best job I can to whatever you sing.
Is there like a contest or prizes?
We actually have a contest once a year during the summer.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually a good cash prize. It's $666.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Nice. So what, does the best singer win or the best dance win or best duet?
It's the best singer. It is based on singing, but like a good dancer will be able to perform to whatever their singer is doing. So last year, my person won, and we did some great, just together, we performed well together.
So you coordinated it before?
Well, I tried to coordinate a little bit. I talked to the people beforehand. I like to do that at Stripparaoke anyways. When you come to Stripparaoke, say that it was your first time and you're like, I would talk to my KJ and find out what my sets were, and he would tell me who's singing them. And I like to talk to them and tell them if I'm going to interact with them. I like to do a costume to it. It's a really fun experience. I highly recommend. If you have never experienced like a Portland strip club atmosphere, but you've been curious, you want to do something and you're not quite ready for Casa Diablo, come to Stripparaoke.
Have you worked there before?
At Casa Diablo?
Yeah.
No.
Would you?
Personally, I have a lot of friends who work there, and that's great. I just love the clubs I work at, so
Okay.
I don't want to work anywhere else.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's real too. No, I want to touch on this a little bit. On your Patreon website, which is a website you created to kind of create funds to help for an experience that you had in life, that it had mentioned that you had been hospitalized.
Yes. I was hospitalized a couple years ago. Well, it was a little bit over a year ago, not exactly a couple years ago. And I had a stress-induced mental breakdown. So exactly what happened was I arrived at the hospital and they thought I had a stroke. And I was 27 years old. I hadn't slept in like a week. I barely been eating. I'd barely been drinking any water. And I was just very overwhelmed. It was just too many tasks I was taking on at once. See, that's the great thing about being a female entrepreneur, just an entrepreneur in general, is like you get to be your own boss. You get to make your own decisions. But at the same time, like it can be a lot of work. And if you're not taking the proper care of yourself, like having time to yourself, making sure you prioritize who and what is best in your life and cutting out, this is going to sound funny, toxic relationships. Like I was in a really down place in my life, but I like to talk about it actually. I know some people don't. And I like to talk about mental health because I think it's very important to know that you are never alone. I, at one point, had suicidal thoughts, and it was very scary for me because I'm a very upbeat, happy person. People describe me as like the sunshine. And when I sunk to that place where I was feeling that much despair, I didn't think I'd ever recover. And then look at me now. I am probably doing the best I've ever done. My relationships are more solid with my family, with my friends, and with my work. And I'm just really thankful that I have such an amazing like support system, my friends, my family, and especially my work. When I was in the hospital, my boss, he did a fundraiser for me.
That is so sweet.
My boss, Sean Bolden, is the best man on the planet.
That is so sweet. That is so nice. So you created a website to kind of help offset those medical costs.
Yes, for the medical costs. And also, like, Patreon is a really great site if people just want to fund the art that you're doing. So what I do is to get, like, studio time for my music or just for my travel costs because traveling to different places can be very expensive, but life experience, I think, is more enriching than a lot of other things. If you've never traveled, please do travel because it expands your mind in ways you could never imagine.
Right. So do you have a few subscribers already? I can imagine.
I have some great fans, and I appreciate them every day.
That is so sweet. So you have this really cute, for me, it's iconic tattoo. It's the Decepticon tattoo.
Yes.
Will you tell me about that?
So I'm a big fan of Transformers.
Okay. So it literally means that. I was like,
it is from Transformers.
Oh.
I have collectible toys. I tell people, I'm like, you want to see my toy collection? Their mind goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about collectible toys. I have comic books. My Barbies would go on dates with my Megatron.
Doesn't that sound ideal, though?
Yeah, I mean, like, I want a ruthless ruler like that.
Yeah, that can turn into a car or some type of vehicle. Yeah, that's perfect.
The Decepticons turn into planes.
Okay. Oh, my God.
No, it's okay. No worries.
I didn't make that connection. Okay, cool.
I kind of classify myself kind of as nerdy. I know that everyone's like, nerds kind of deal, but that's who I've always like collected different things. I love comic books. I love going to Comic-Con. I cosplay a lot.
Are you Well, I'm
a cosplayer.
Mm-hmm.
I love to go to Wizard World. I used to be regular at Emerald City Comic-Con up in Seattle for a long time. Well, Suicide Girls, we had booths there years ago. So I got to meet a lot of the exhibitors and a lot of people. And people at cons are wild parties. The craziest parties I've ever been to are Comic-Con parties.
You're lying.
No, I'm serious. They can get down.
Okay.
Yeah. Coolest person I ever partied with was Norman Reedus.
Who's that?
He was on The Walking Dead, but he was back then the Boondock Saints.
Oh, okay.
He's a really cool guy.
Gosh.
He's just really fun. Really nice guy.
Like you just mentioned traveling. So do you dance in other cities?
I've danced in New Orleans. I danced in New Orleans for Mardi Gras a couple years ago and just recently for Halloween. I've done some performing in some cities, but mostly burlesque routines or different, but like actual like showgirl type performances. So far, only New Orleans and all over Oregon. But I have a lot of people expressing interest to work with me, and I'm going to get into the traveling circuit soon.
What was some major differences between Oregon and New Orleans?
For one, the Portland scene is unlike any strip club scene in the world. A lot of people don't realize that. We have the most strip clubs per capita in the entire world. And you are blessed and you are spoiled. Please know that. Because you'll go to New Orleans, you have to pay a cover charge. Women cannot go in without a man escort. You have to have a man to go with you.
And stay with you the whole night? Or?
Well, it's like a gentleman's club. To get into the club, you have to have a man present with you to get into the club.
Even if you're working or just
Well, not if you're working, but if you are a patron. And a lot of people don't know that because, like, especially if they come to, like, Portland or they're used to, like, the West Coast style. But Portland's so unique because a lot of the clubs, they don't have a cover, and if they do, it's very low. The clubs have really good food, really strong drinks, and they're cheap. When you go to, like, New Orleans or, like, other, like, people travel from Seattle down to Portland for the clubs because in Seattle, you can't even drink at most of the clubs if they're fully nude. And if they're not fully nude, your drinks are so expensive and they're mostly just sugary.
I had no idea that we had it so good.
We have it so good. And you have some of the most talented performers.
I did know that.
Oh, I freak out at half the girls I know just because they're so talented. It's like Juliette Lectrique is the coolest dancer I've ever met.
Why do you say that?
She's a sword swallower, which is really cool, but she creates her own rhinestones, and she's amazing. I can't even. We work really hard, and we love what we do. I think there's such a negative stigma around, like, dancing in general and just stripper culture, which is it's a shame. To be honest, I probably was one of those people when I was younger because I didn't know any better, but actually, like, living and learning and actually going into that environment and meeting people, the best people I've ever met in my life, I've met at a strip club. That's a fact.
I'm sure you have. There's a lot of good people in the industry. So what do you like best about dancing in Portland?
Well, so the clubs I work at, what I really appreciate is I work theme nights mostly. You get that perk when you've been working in Portland long enough.
Wait, you get a personal perk, or?
I feel very lucky just because I worked my way up to the top of the totem pole. That's the way I feel about it. Because when I first started dancing, it was so long ago that I started at a different club in a different part of the city, and now I feel like really blessed. I feel like I work at 3 of the best places in the city. And just going there, like I like to go there on my days off as a patron just because there's such an enjoyable place to be. Lucky Devil is, in my opinion, the best club in Portland. It's beautiful. Like, the decor is wonderful. The stage, it's one stage, so you get really a good time to know your entertainer. The girls put on a show. All the girls are talented.
I better find out. Like, I haven't been there yet. Just no particular reason, but
Tiny Tuesday. I work every
I
Tuesday.
have heard about
Tiny
that.
Tuesday. I know. Everybody always wants to know about it. People come in, they're like, so, Tiny Tuesday. I'm like, oh, I know what this person's going to say. So I'm going to tell you right now, we're 5'2" and shorter.
Okay.
The shortest girl who works there is 4'11".
Okay.
Her name is Domino. She's a fox. But we have a solid group of girls. We have Polarotica champion Nikki Diesel, who works. We have Elle, who's just a staple in Portland. Ashton Aguave. She is a really fun little Latina. We have Ivy. I call her Mrs. Pepper, though. She's really spicy and fun. And then you have me, of course. So it's a good mix.
It's a strong lineup.
6 girls. It's awesome. It's every Tuesday, and it's hosted by Nixon. Our bartender is Pistolita, who's one of the best bartenders in the business.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a solid lineup. That's dope. Do you have any pet peeves when you're dancing?
I'm gonna think about this for 2 seconds. I'm gonna sip my water.
Take your time. Take all the time you need, because with any job you work, you're gonna have pet peeves. It doesn't matter what you do.
So I think that mainly my peeves, because when you are in a business for so long, you understand how it works. So it's easier to let things roll off your shoulders.
Okay.
But one of my biggest pet peeves is people, when they come to the club and they don't know the etiquette. You can never record somebody doing any type of act without their consent. We have a lot of people who, I understand that we live in a technology age, but people are on their phones all the time. You are at a show. Just disconnect for a second. Enjoy the space you're in. So I think it's really important to remember that no phones, especially at the rack.
Is the rack in front?
The rack is where you sit.
Okay.
So where you place your money. Also, once you put the money on the rack, it belongs to the dancer. That's another very important thing to know. A lot of people, when they come, they don't know that. And I've had people lose giant stacks of money, and that's their own fault. Because
What do you mean? So someone will place their money down and think that they can just grab it again later?
A lot.
That happens a lot?
A lot, unfortunately. We have a lot of people, they just don't understand. Like, some people, they think because they pay a cover charge that they don't have to pay a dancer. Like, they don't connect the dots. We work for tips only. We do our taxes independently. We're independent contractors. So we rely on our tips to pay our school bills, to pay our rent, to buy our food, to go on nice vacations, because we deserve it.
That's right. Oh my God! So you may have had issues with people
in the past, unfortunately. But we have so many wonderful clientele that come in as well. It's really hard to say that I like a lot of the aspects of dancing. Honestly, it's mostly I like people who are respectful. They're having a good time. Just people who don't come with like a vendetta. If that makes any sense. Sometimes people, they come in and they don't know, if you don't know the etiquette, but that's not your fault. You don't know any better. But just like also treating dancers like they're not people. We are people. In fact, a lot of us are very highly intelligent people. I knew a girl who paid her way through medical school dancing. It was one of the most inspiring things I'd ever heard. Just like we, as dancers, like we are such wonderful, like I can't even express to you how wonderful most of the women I know from dancing are, and how much they've inspired me as a person, and they've helped me as a person. So when I see like dancers being mistreated, it breaks my heart.
Right. That's unfortunate.
It's just mostly that. Like, peeves of the job mostly are when a night doesn't go off as a hitch.
Yeah.
But mostly it's really fun. It's a good environment. It's a good time. Depends sometimes, not on a full moon.
Right. Okay. And then what is next for you? I know you talked about traveling and getting into that circuit, but
Yes.
any projects you're working on?
Well, I do a singing stripping act. It's really exciting. I love doing it. I debuted it actually at Miss Exotic this year.
I know, and I missed it. I feel so
It
terrible,
was the best routine of the night, undisputed.
okay.
So that's all you need to know about that. But I literally had dreamed about doing a routine like that my entire life, just mostly because I love singing, I love performing, and I love expressing myself. And no better way to express myself than really harnessing all that feminine energy. So I want to take it on the road. So I'm getting into the feature entertainer circuit. So I'm going to be traveling with my singing act. I'm really looking forward to that. Also, I'm just going to be traveling, doing photo shoots. I'm doing more acting, just taking over the world slowly but surely, right? That's the
Right.
goal.
Yeah, it's impressive how you manage all that. So
I don't know how I do it.